Welcome, everybody, to the One to Go show presented by Dirt Track Supply. It is Bert Lehman. It is Ryan Aho. It is Puka. It is episode 100. And just real quick here, while I have the floor, I just want to say, there's an Iron Man, Shane Sabraski, and there's another Iron Man named Ryan Aho. I've taken some time off. Bert's taken some time off, but Ryan's been the Rock. He's been the Iron Man, all 100 episodes. So, we all fans want to thank you. I want to thank you. Gold Sports wants to thank you. Bert wants to thank you. And I guess we'll give you the floor.
I tell you what, it's been when you approached me about this a little over, 100 weeks ago, I'm like, I can talk racing all day, every day. I mean, even if nobody wants to listen, it's all good. I mean, we can sit and chat racing for an hour or so, and I guess we'll have fun. And it's been fun. It's been a blast, and looking forward to the next 100 episodes. But we got a tradition that we started, number 100, and getting to be challenging, right? Because there's not a lot of drivers with 3 digits. Do either of you have a number 100?
I do not.
I've got one close to 100. It was K100, the modified driven by Mitch Johnson in the early around 90. Remember that blue K100?
I don't remember Mitch driving it. I don't remember.
Or was it Auckland?
It was Auckland.
Oh, was it Auckland? Okay.
And it was Jay McDonald, right? So Jay McDonald owned that car, and Jay McDonald and Rick Auckland, they were sponsored by a radio station. It was K100. And I was thinking, was that the one where Auckland won the WISSOTA 100? But that was number 99. So that was a 99 he won it. So, yeah, you were thinking right on the car, but it was the other legend from out in North Dakota, Rick Auckland. So, yeah, Auckland and, of course, Jay McDonald, who we talked about at episode 96. But here's one for you. Actually, I got 2 up north. Riverview Raceway. Radical Reese Stewart. Remember that name? I don't know if you remember that name. He ran a late model back in the 80s. You were still a pup. You're a little younger than me by a whole year and a half. So I was actually made some trips up there. And he's kind of an innovator. Kevin Carlson posted on Facebook that he had a car, he had the radiator in the back, and sounds like the radiator hoses went through the frame rails or something. I don't know much about him other than I always remember Radical Reese Stewart. That's all I remember. And then there was a Dave Siciliano up there that ran the Diamond class and a modified. And the Diamond class, they were sponsored, I think it was Diamond. Was Diamond a beer? I don't remember what it was. Diamond, I'm not sure what it was, but they sponsored the super stock division, so they called them Diamonds, right?
Oh, okay.
That's what Ron Jones drove for my dad up there. So Dave Siciliano, and then we had another guy, and I think he was number 100, but wasn't there a number 100 Warren Koskanini that ran in Hibbing a little bit? I think he was.
There's a name. It's a name I recall, but I don't recall the number. Koskanini, yeah. That's a name you can't forget.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to look that up there. I'm sure Lem has it on his page, but Warren Koskanini is a guy that comes to mind. I feel like I'm about positive he had a super stock. So there's a few 100s, right? But pretty soon we're gonna have to turn the corner and start back at 1 again. But with that said, Dirt Track Supply, you mentioned of course, Ron and Trevor, want to thank them guys a bunch for supporting the show. They've been with us pretty much the lion's share of the way. And a shout out to my buddy Todd Carter. He runs an Aero chassis. He won the Oktoberfest event in the WISSOTA Street Stock Division this past weekend over in Mandan, the Dakota Speedway. And he started, I think, 3rd row. He had to pass both Hunter Davigala. He had to pass Ryan Satter, who's been incredibly fast. He had to pass Zach Frederick. He had to pass some really good hot rods to get there. And he had the left rear shock fell right off the car. So he won with a broken car, but Aero chassis in victory lane. But what do you say we get after it here? Let's talk a little racing. I got to look at my notes that just turned off here. But let's start with, because it's invitational season, guys. Let's start with the Vernon Racing recap of the invitationals here that went on this past weekend. Of course, the big one, in my opinion, no disrespect to the other shows, but the 46th annual Red Clay Classic up at the ABC Raceway in Ashland. I know both of you got to watch a little bit of that. What stuck out, Bert? Let's start with you. What did you watch? What stuck out to you up in Ashland, Wisconsin?
Well, I mean, once again, another really good run by AJ Demo. He was my pick this week in that race, so I was happy to see that good run. But yeah, I mean, he started on the front row. It was funny because, I was looking through Facebook on Saturday night, and then it was early in the evening yet, and somebody had posted a picture of AJ in Victory Lane. It's like, it's still light out. They ran the feature already, and that I watched the races later on, and then I found out why the late models were running so soon. So, but I mean, good night of racing. Nick Avelank had some tough luck in his heat race. I didn't see what happened, but I just saw that he didn't finish his heat race.
On that one, I think it was Belfi was ahead of him. It looked like he clipped a tire and got turned around, and Avelank got caught up in that deal. He was up in a transfer spot. It looked like he was probably going to be in the top 3, and just wrong place at the wrong time. Kind of the hard luck award from the One to Go show. Bert's going to go ahead. We'll have Bert send him a check for that, but yeah, he had a rough weekend for sure.
Yeah, and I mean, in the modified, it was a really good modified feature. And then, I mean, it came down to green, white, checkered because there was a caution late in the race, and it was funny watching Sobraski because there were the 2 cars behind him. One was running low, the other was running high, and Shane kind of ran in the middle trying to block both of them. So that was kind of fun to watch.
And he had to win that. Now, interesting, did you see what happened in the first corner coming off of turn 4 to start the modified feature?
I'm not sure.
My pick, my sure bet of the week, Ashley Anderson, started second inside. He got turned around, and I texted him, and I wasn't able to get a hold of him to find out exactly what happened, but I think he clipped a tractor tire down on the bottom is what it looked like. He got the start on the bottom, and it looked to me, now if somebody knows something different, let us know, but it looked like he clipped that tire, the left front went out, car spun around in a circle, busted the left front tire out, he was done, did not even make it to the flag stand. And rough deal. So let me ask you this. So did you guys watch the heat races at all?
I did not see any of the heat races.
Tanner Gill had a violent roll in the
Who did?
Spots. Tanner Gill. Of course, Todd Gill. He's a late model. He ran late model, so Puka knows who Todd Gill is. 70. He was 71. But his son, Tanner Gill, last lap of the heat race, he clipped a tractor tire, and I didn't count how many times it rolled, but it went over like a ton of times in 3 and 4. And I want to give a donkey award. I think they did a good job on the show getting it in, but I got to give a donkey award to all racetracks. They got stupid big tractor tires on the bottom. Somebody's going to get hurt. I like the half moon tires, not the truck tires that like rip the left rear bird cage off the car, but like something that's soft so you can get over them, but it'll still upset you, but not wreck stuff. These cars are too expensive to be putting them big obstacles out on the track, and I think that's what cost Ashley. And I'm sure he'll be the first to say if he hit it, if that's what happened. I'm sure he'll be the first to say, "I hit it. I knew it was there. It is what it is." But I mean, it just takes clipping them things one time. That car went over in a hurry. I just wish they'd get rid of them. And originally, guys, I was wondering, maybe, you see a lot of issues when it's one lane on the bottom, but that really wasn't the case in that heat. They were still moving around on the racetrack, so they weren't like one lane on the tires trying to hit that traction strip. What's your guys' thought on the big tractor tires on the bottom?
No, I agree. And that's not the first time we've heard about that. Drivers just hate them. It just wrecks too much stuff. Like you said, dig in some car tires, whatever you have to do. Yeah. I mean, there was a time when Hibbing, I remember at Labor Day, Hibbing had one sitting. That was when Don Hankey was still on the track. And I think it was used kind of where you're supposed to hit the gas and start on the front stretch or something. Larson got into it. So he got all ticked off, and he came walking out onto the track after his heat race and went up to Don Hankey, arm around him and pointing at that tire. Oh, he was furious, And so, I mean, that was 10, 15 years ago. So it's been a long time. And they haven't had him near, since that, it's been a long time since Hibbing's had him anywhere around. I mean, you got to put up barriers, you got to put up walls, I understand. But on the inside of the track, that's not where they belong.
And Grand Rapids had like 400 of them around the bottom this year. They had like a pile of them. Did you notice how many they had? It was crazy. Well, they voted on it at their last meeting. Next year, no tractor tires. They're getting rid of them. They're going back to the Half Moon tires at Grand Rapids. It's just safer. Glad to see Tanner Gill was okay. That was a pretty violent roll. I saw Joe Staria commented on it. I'm like, I didn't see it. I got to go back and watch it. It was pretty wicked. So the modified racing, now, Bert, I'm not sure if you're aware, but Sobraski had to win that. That was a must-win race for the 7A. So that was big time. Of course, Dima was good. And did you guys watch the Superstock feature at all?
I did not.
I caught. Yeah, I just caught, I don't know. It was, as I was fast forwarding, I caught a little bit. I saw Sobraski. There was a caution. He had gone from 19th to 4th, I think, at the point when I saw him.
19th to 6th. Yeah, he got the hard charger. Just a rough heat. But, I got to pick on Puka here and Bert, evidently. Well, you at least watch the mods. But imagine how much, you guys love racing, right? But imagine how much you'd love racing if you got to watch the cool classes with passing and stuff. That would be even better, right? So the Superstock race is really good. I mentioned on the one to go show power ranking show, my pick was going to be Terrence Spacek. He proved me right. He parked in Victory Lane. He's been red hot through invitational season. He's been really good. Should have won the Legendary. It came down to a DNL, or he got second, but he broke on the last lap. Kevin Burdick was all over him. But what was super cool, guys, did you see the bridesmaid deal from that?
Well, I've seen it in the past.
I just saw some pictures of drivers wearing the dresses.
So a neighborly bar over there in Ashland, they sponsor a bunch of race cars, huge supporters of the racing world over in Ashland. And this is an event. They got lots of bonuses. Clint Larson kicked into the hard charger. They did bonuses for everything. But they have a bridesmaid award where they raise money, right? And then second place finisher in Victory Lane, if you put on a bridesmaid's dress, they give you bonus money. Well, first feature out there, because it's the undercard. Now, you guys seen UFC fighting, right? You've seen UFC? Yeah. So you got the undercard, and then the main event is last. So the Midwest Mods was going to be the main event. Everybody wanted to watch Kennedy Swan. That rained out. So the late models were first technically because that's the undercard. So Pat Dorr, he got second, and he's a man of few words. You can't get much out of that guy. Declined. And it was a $1,250 bonus. I'm like, dude, I'll wear that bitch to dinner for $1,250. We'll go to pick a restaurant. I'll wear the dress, and we'll just go out to eat for $1,250. Game on. I'll do it. Let's go, right? I ain't scared. Well, Burdick, what they did is they took that money then, and they split it between the other three classes and added it on top of their bonus. Kevin Burdick gets second in the feature, right, behind Terrence Spacek. His total earnings was $3,866. The winner got $3,000. Jody Belfry, he got it. That's like his third time in 4 years, and I'm starting to wonder if he just went ahead and let Sobraski win because he knew that was going to pay more, and Sobraski needed the points, right? So, that's one of those deals where if you start doing the math, you're not racing for points. I'm just going to go ahead and hit the brakes coming off of turn 4 and let that guy go, right? But do you think that happens? I don't think that happens. As a racer, it's kind of one of those things, right, where the significance of being on the T-shirt, being one of the drivers that's won the Red Clay Classic outweighs that $1,000. At least that's how I would think. What would you guys do in a situation like that?
I'd wear the dress.
Take the money. Yeah, take the money.
Show me the money, baby. Absolutely. So, Puka, I know you watched it. Good racing overall. What stuck out to you over at the EBC Raceway?
Well, the packed house, of course. So congrats to everyone out there. You guys did a great job. Grandstand's absolutely packed. Fans' Choice Dash for the late models on night one. I thought that was pretty cool. Incidentally, won by Jesse Glenn's. How about Matt Auckland? We just talked about his father, Rick. So Rick Auckland's son, Matt Auckland, making the tow all the way from Fargo. I haven't seen Matt Auckland race in quite a while. I thought that was really cool. And we talked a little bit about Demo. We've talked a little bit about Demo last few weeks. He's been doing so much winning. Did you realize, of course, he won in the black car. But if you remember through the summer, Masters, the 5,000 to 1 show I went to, he's also got that red, blue, and white car. I'm assuming they're different cars. The 2000...
I'm not sure if they're different cars.
See, I'm going to bet he's got a couple of... works at bars. Because he that black car is the car that he won the 2019 when he came up here, won the Challenge Series in 19 at Grand Rapids. He clinched it, I think, then came to Labor Day. He wasn't doing a lot of winning in that white, blue, and red car.
Well, he never went to the black much in that. He only ran a few races in that. I feel like, I guess I don't know, but I don't think he has two cars. Like, I'm pretty confident he does not have two cars. That may have been a different car that maybe they sold to a customer and then he got a different one, maybe. Or maybe they just totally switched bodies. But I don't think Beemel's in the position to have two complete cars. I just don't. I could be wrong, but I don't think so.
If somebody knows that, let us know, because that was something I noticed. He's got back in that black car. Like I said, he was winning in 2019 with that car, and then he was winning this year. And then just as far as the racing, Rick Neiman with a really good run in that SSR in a 5th place. And how about Sam Mars? Coming off of strong, was over 100 just a couple of weeks ago where he placed 3rd. He gets 4th in Ashland, had that big win. I think it was a Challenge Series race in June in Rice Lake.
That kid's going to be, he's already good. That kid's going to be really good. Really, he's really down to earth, carries himself well, pretty humble. I think he's got a bright future.
Yeah, 17 years old. So he's either starting his senior year or he's an older junior, so he's still a high school kid. Go ahead, Bert.
I was just going to ask Ryan, does Shane Sabraski normally run the Ashland show?
If he has a chance to.
Okay, well, the reason I ask is I was surprised that this was his first victory at Ashland.
I wasn't going to bring that up. But he won one before.
Oh, okay. Well, the announcer said that would be his first.
Yeah, technically. Yep. So he won, and there was a rule that evidently he didn't. It is what it is, but he had literally you can only have a total of 1 inch of wheel spacer on any given wheel, and he had over 1 inch of wheel spacer. I believe it was on the right rear. The year that Tommy Richards won it in the Super Stock, Sabraski actually won that, and he had too thick of a wheel spacer. He got DQ.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so he felt pretty good about this one. I promise. It was a long time coming, and this is one of those deals. I talked to several racers, even Tyler Peterson. Like, everybody wants to go to Ashland, right? And it's the best paying invitational out of all of them. It pays so good up there. They don't charge the drivers to draw. You look at some of these tracks, they're charging for everything, right? They don't have all these stupid fees up there. The culture in Ashland, they got a bunch of volunteers where they don't have to pay a whole bunch of employees, so they have some extra money. This is their one big show. They have a lot of sponsors. The culture is incredible. You want to talk about a party? If you're a race fan and you want to go to an invitational, right, that has an after party, ABC Raceway, the Red Clay Classic is it. I heard a rumor. I'm not going to mention any names, but he drives the 81 modified, so I'm not going to say any names. But the rumor has it that somebody might have been drinking maybe at 5 a.m. Friday night after the races, doing a keg stand at a face plant, maybe landed on his face, and there might have been stitches. I don't know the whole details. I got all of this secondhand, but they said, I wonder if he maybe clipped that tire on the bottom because he was still a little foggy from the night before. I'm not really sure, but let's just say there's a lot of craziness that happens at the Red Clay Classic, and it's one of the, to me, it's one of the, I guess, historic events, but it's really one of the marquee events of the year, not just for the racing, but for the overall culture of the Red Clay Classic. They do a really good job up there. Just got to get rid of them stupid tractor tires. So they've got to get rid of those, and everything would be really good.
So what did they check Belfi's deck height? Any rumors what's going on there? He was back in the teching circle.
I'm here to tell you that place techs. They tech. They almost over tech, right? But they tech. So if somebody would have got caught with a deck height in Ashland, there would have been no free pass or whatever. They dropped the hammer on, which I can appreciate, because you ain't got to question nothing. If something's illegal in Ashland, you're getting the boot for sure. So let's jump down to Western Minnesota, the 7th annual Lou's Madtown Showdown, and pretty confident. Did you guys watch any of that over in Madison?
No, I did not.
Because most people aren't racing the next 2 shows, or there's going to be some, but not as many. I'm not doing power rankings until postseason, so I'll just give a little shout out. In the street stocks over there, Mike Jans, who I picked on the Power Ranking show to win at least one, he did. Justin Vogel won night 2 in the street stocks. First and second place car, Eric Riley, guys, who's coming for the white flag, and he yard sailed the leader. Spun him out, yellow. Leader got his spot back. Vogel got by for the lead. A little bit of drama there. Midwest Mods, our very own Shane Howell, he parked in victory lane, the old cowboy himself. And then the nightmare Lucas Rodin, he sealed the deal, put the last nail in the coffin for the Midwest Mods for the national standings. Super Stocks, Sean Fernquist, night 1. We'll talk more about lap cars and drivers running into the back of lap cars, but Justin Tamman, Donkey Award. Come on, man. Come on. You're killing me. Tamman, he's gone. Half a straightaway lead. Car's been really good. He should have won the race. Literally tries to throw a slider on a lapper coming for the white flag. Yard sails him, runs them both off the track. Yellow comes out. It's like the dude behind you wasn't even close. He should have had somebody giving him stick signals. He would have won that race. That cost him. He did not win that race. Let's put it that way. Jake Knapper snuck by Dan Nisulke. Dan's my buddy, but when the track is 1-lane rubber, hit your marks. Don't drive in the marbles and let somebody pass you. He did throw a slider in the last corner that didn't stick, and then Knapper got back by him. And then in the modifieds, it was the one TPO show. He had to win. We'll talk about the national points in a minute, but Tyler Peterson absolutely put a clinic on there. He has been really, really good. We'll talk about him more in just a little bit. So after that one, let's talk Granite City. I know you guys are late model guys, so you watched they had the inaugural Piston Cup over at the Granite City Motor Park, and it was supposed to be Friday, Saturday, and then it rained out, and then it was just too wet on Saturday. And then they had a rain date. They took it, which incidentally, Madison, we'll talk more about this in a second. Madison didn't have a rain date. So I'm not sure if you're aware of that. They decided when it rained and they saw that Granite was going to, they're like, hey, we'll race on Sunday too. Just a last minute deal. So it's kind of a weird that it was good for TPO, but weird that they let that happen. But Granite City ended up running their show on Sunday. What stuck out to you guys over at Granite City Motor Park?
Well, what's the camping situation there? Can you camp there?
Granite
They have
City,
big ground.
I'm not 100% positive, but I'm pretty sure. Yeah, I think he's cleared some pretty good space there. I know you can stay in the pits. I'm pretty confident of that. Okay,
because the crowd looked a little light, and I know you're going to comment on that too. But Michelson, taking her home in the late models, passing Kanta, in some lap traffic. Now, incidentally, seeing Kanta, I thought, geez, I don't remember seeing him. So I went back and looked at the ABC results. He didn't even show up to Ashland. So yeah, I don't know if he was.
I think his grandkid plays football. So I think they had football on Friday. So then they just took Friday off, and they were going to do Saturday, Sunday, but Saturday rained out.
Okay, makes sense. So a big win for SSR, Michelson. That was pretty cool. Now, in watching the late models, Ryan, were some of those limiteds? I don't know all those guys, but they sure looked like it to me.
They got a bunch of them. See, there's not a lot of late models. There's not a lot of Wissota late models in central Minnesota, and that's going to really give James Fantina something to think about, because he did put a lot of money into trying to get late models there over the season. They had a great purse. He did what he could do to try to get them there, but there's really no late models in the area, right? Yeah. If you look within a 2-hour radius of St. Cloud, there's really not many. And Dave Moss was gonna race, but he ended up coming down with COVID. And I did talk to him. He said he's good to go. He'll be over at the Fall Classic this weekend. But no Iron Range cars went down there. But yeah, if it weren't for the limiteds, there's a couple. There's one that has a B-mod motor in. There's another. There's a 525, a couple 525 crates. There's some limited lates. If it weren't for that, they would have no late models. They'd have like 5 every night. So that's one of those deals where, as a promoter, it's his money, do whatever he wants. But if it were me, I'd be like, well, heck, if it's half limiteds, I can probably get the same car count and pay half the money, right? So a person's got to think about that, because it's pretty tough to get late models to travel for $10,000 to win, let alone $1,500.
Yeah. So and just a couple more comments. The trophies were very cool with pistons on them. I don't know if you saw the trophies, but they were super cool. And just getting back to the stands, you can comment too. But yeah, they looked pretty bleak. That's why I was wondering if there was camping. Because sometimes if people are going to plan on, you're renting out Saturday, so they don't even show up. So maybe if there was camping, the situation would have been better on a 2-night show. So I hope they did well enough that they can do it. Obviously, again in 2022 here, but I think you saw the same thing I did as far as the grandstands, Ryan.
I did. It was pretty light, and that's a Sunday deal in general, right? Sunday shows are tough. It don't matter where you go. Sunday's tough to get crowds. A doubleheader probably would have been better. The weather was pretty good on Sunday, but for years and years and years and years, the culture of racing over there, even though St. Cloud's got a couple 100,000 people, there ain't really been a big racing culture, so to speak. It's not. You think with a couple 100,000 people, you'd be able to get 1,500 people a night, and they just haven't been able to do that. So we'll have to see what he does. They're going to have to build towards that. In my opinion, their focus should be creating a fan base. So that way when you have specials, you have more people. They had a bunch at the World of Outlaw Sprint Show. It was packed that night, but it was pretty light. So, Bert, did you watch anything over at Granite City?
I didn't see any of the racing, but I mean, I agree with you that Sundays are tough for putting on racing shows. There's just, it's close to the end of the weekend, and plus not this time of the year, you have NFL football on Sundays. So, your Vikings, they're doing really well this year. So everybody wants to watch them. So.
You're cutting out there really bad. We can't. And we're just going to go ahead and mute him right down right now. But he can talk smack, but we ain't played the Packers yet. I'm not going to go there because the way that I'm a little nervous about that. But no, you're exactly right. Sundays are tough, and especially this time of year. Put a little bit on the results over there. Corey Merworth. So there's 3 Merworths, right? There's Brandon Merworth in the 7. He's got a pile of wins. Of course, Ashley Merworth, and then Corey Merworth, I believe, is the youngest sibling. And he won in the Midwest Mods, and he actually got second in one of the qualifying features at the 100. Rookie year in the Midwest Mods, and he's starting to gain some traction. I think he's going to probably win a bunch of races next year. And then Shane Sobraski. I mean, he put a move on Dexton Cook. He kind of wiggled him a little bit and then drove around him. I'm like, that was cool. I mean, he just checked out. He's been really good in that super. He won the mods as well. And then, like you said, Ryan Michelson kind of snookered Kanta. Kanta kind of got, he's conservative behind the lapper there, and he's just being patient, and that's Kanta's style, patient. And Michelson's like, I'm going to go a lane up and just try to drive by everybody, and he did. And that's a testament to the track. They put that new surface on it, a little choppy because of the rain, but it had just a little character. But there was multiple lines. I mean, you could run the middle, top, bottom. I mean, I thought it was a pretty good show over there at Granite City.
Oh yeah, I agree. And Kanta had a big lead there for a while. He was gone, but then Michelson looked really good. And that SSR, that's what Nimi's running? Is this the first year of SSR late models?
Yeah, okay. The first 2 SSR late models, and I'm pretty impressed. They got a pretty good piece there. They ran pretty well, and you get a top 5 at the Red Clay. They won over at the Piston Cup. Michelson's got a few wins on the year. Ran good at Jamestown. They got something there. I think they're going to have a pretty good piece. Their mods and Midwest mod program's amazing. So I mean, I guess they seem like they're pretty smart over there, and we'll see how that goes. It's nice to have another chassis builder in the late models in Wisconsin. So another show that happened this week, I guess, would be the last show in the area. The Devil's Lake Speedway. They had the fall last call spectacular, and literally a couple weeks back they said, hey, the weather looks good. A couple weeks out, screw it, let's have another special. And I talked to the track promoters. They said several people had COVID up there. Lots of COVID going around up there. So they ended up with 9 late models, and the car count was not good. The fan count was not good. They said, well, we did okay. We broke about even. But Dustin Strand, who's had a rough year, good way to end the season. He parked it in Victory Lane. Jamie Deitzler in the Midwest Mods, and Dustin Ebensteiner, who's got not a lot of shows, but a lot of wins. He's been really strong up there. Then he won in the street stocks. The question I have, go ahead.
Well, yeah, I was going to say, a combination, no cars. Is that because they threw it together a couple of weeks ago, or should they even be able to schedule? I mean, we've talked about this in the past. We talked about Leo Burkhardt-Weiser and some of your stories there about scheduling. As a racer, it's 2 weeks out, not enough time, or should these tracks be able to schedule? There's a WISSOTA rule, or not that WISSOTA rules matter. We've learned that, but technically, isn't there a WISSOTA rule as far as scheduling?
There was. I don't know where the rules are written for procedures or whatever. And I did. I actually had a conversation with Rob Palmer because we were talking about some other stuff, and this conversation came up about Madison, about Devil's Lake doing this. So kind of a donkey award, really, to the Wissota Promoters Association for not sticking by their guidelines, right? No harm, no foul on the show. Nothing got affected. I mean, it did not affect the national points. So at the end of the day, it didn't matter. But if the question, no, they should not be. There should be a set date. There always has been. And I thought it was right around Labor Day, to where that was the last day that you could schedule a postseason event. Okay. You can put all the events you want on the schedule before that. And if they rain out or whatever, you cancel. It is what it is. You can cancel for weather and not pay Wissota anything. But like you said, with Leo in the past, they would just throw shows in, right? And be like, well, we'll go race one here. And that's why they changed that rule. This really, potentially could impact. If they let tracks do this, we still have a couple weeks before the end of the season now, right? So you got the modifieds would be the one that's really in the contention here. Well, Granite City, hometown there of Shane Sabraski, why not schedule a Friday, Saturday, Sunday, the last weekend, or whatever, right? Or Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. I mean, if they let one track do it, right, they got to let another one do it. So it's a really slippery slope. Myself, I like to have a deadline, okay? Because if I'm racing for points, I want to be able to look at it and say, this is what we're up against. I have this many shows left, period. And then all of a sudden, we got one. Okay, now there's another. You can't be changing the game. I mean, that's just not cool. I mean, you should not be able to do that. So I think they got to clean that up here at the meeting. That's something they got to talk about. And they say, here, we're going to draw a line in the sand. This is the last day you can schedule shows. No ifs, ands, or buts. If you want a rain date, you're supposed to put it on your schedule. And, again, you just shouldn't be able to do that. I was surprised that they let them, but again, it did not affect anything in the national standings. So no harm, no foul on this one, but it's something that definitely needs to be looked at for sure.
Well, maybe if you're a racer or even just a fan, just throw a promoter, maybe just throw a comment on here, and we can have banter, see what you all think.
Right? Yeah, I'd love to hear everybody else's opinion. Now, if you're second in the national points, you're like, hell yeah, schedule a few more, right? If you're leading national points, you're like, no, it's done. So speaking of national points, a little update here. The late model, Wissota late model national champ is going to be, and the Wissota late model rookie of the year, which I'm torn on because I feel like he wasn't a rookie, but it is what it is. He would have been rookie of the year last year. Cole Searing, hell of a year out there in South Dakota. And he's not racing the last 2 nights. He did hurt a motor over at Watertown. And I was surprised not to see him at Granite. And he says, hey, I talked to James. If he wanted me there, if he said it was a big deal, I would have definitely went because, of course, Collins Brothers Towing sponsors him. But he's like, I took that other motor out that had a ton of shows on it. We locked up the championship. We hurt this one. His sponsors were A-okay with him not going. So the 10 ride is done for the year. Hell of a season for him. And then in the modifieds, we'll come back to the modifieds. Okay, Super Stocks, Shane Sabraski clinched. It's over. Burdick is locked into second. The battle in the supers over the last 2 weeks is going to be between Dexton Cook and Trevor Nelson. They both have a very good possibility to slide into third. Midwest Mods, I thought the Lakers were coming over. It sounded like they were coming to Madison.
Yeah.
They sold their cars. They're done.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so Lucas Rodin.
Go late model racing.
Maybe. I'm doubting that. It sounds like they're getting rid of some late model tracks out west because there's just not enough following. But the nightmare, Lucas Rodin, he really put together all year really, but the last month was impressive. So he locked up the national championship. Street stocks, that was decided in end of June, somewhere in there. Parker Henderson just put a beat down on him. But the battle's still for second. It's literally a handful of points. Justin Vogel, Braden Brower, Jeremy Castro, who's out in Montana, who came over to Devil's Lake, and he sounds like he's coming to Ogilvie, and Ryan Satter. So there's 4 drivers there that still can get the runner-up spot, but the story's the modifieds. Right now, the 1 TPO Tyler Peterson has a 3-point lead over Shane Sabraski. Now, do you guys know how the national points works in Wissota?
Well, it's just top 30 shows, and then you start throwing away as your higher average finishes, right? Then you throw out the old ones. What was the point lead going in? 4 points going into the weekend?
Yeah, 4 points going in, and then Sobraski had a full car count win, of course, at Ashland. So they both got one win, so he gained 1 point because TPO got two 111s. Sobraski got a 112 and a 111, so that gained 1 point. So what they're throwing out right now, what they're throwing away for shows is a 106, which is a second place finish if you have between 10 and 15 cars. Both of these last two shows are going to have over 16 cars, right? The Fall Classic and, of course, the Can-Am Clash in Superior. Now, second place on a full car count deal is 107 points. Now, first place is 112. Okay? So, if Tyler Peterson wins the Fall Classic this coming week in Ogilvie, he's your national champ. If Shane Sobraski wins, he takes the point lead, and it'll come down to Superior at the Gyneclaw Speedway. If neither one of them win this weekend, which is a great possibility because they're going to have some good hot rods over there, it's still going to be coming down to that last show. So there's 2 shows left. It's right down to the wire. And I talked to Joe Starry for last night and after the races, and I said the hope is one of 2 things, okay? Because I like both these guys. I don't care who wins. I just it's fun to have a good race. But the hope is either Tyler Peterson wins by 6 or more points, or Shane Sobraski wins. The reason why, remember what happened night 2, the Northern Nationals?
Right.
The difference between first and second in that show was 5 points.
Yeah.
I hope it don't come down to that. I don't want to see an asterisk on it. That would be stupid. I want to. That'd be a disaster. I'm just hoping it don't come down. They could. Right now, that's where it is. Sobraski, if with that win, would be leading. He'd be
or a lawsuit to Wissota.
Yeah, that's up to them, I guess. But yeah, we'll let them cross that bridge. But I tell you, it's that national points deal coming down to the wire here. It's pretty exciting, and it has me just enthralled into that because I love points bets.
Well, yeah, I knew. I mean, you've been in this situation where it's coming down to last 2 nights, last one night. Comment on that. And if any of you have a good Ryan Aho national point story, comment on that too. But let's let Ryan comment on just the pressure, because I asked Shane about that last weekend, kind of on what his day was like on Saturday in Bemidji. Both cars. He said he wasn't too comfortable.
It comes down to the individual person, right? Some people are just cool, calm, and collective. I'm just going to focus like it is what it is. And I was not that guy. I was high strung. Everything I did all season long had the goal in mind. I'm going to try to win the national points. So it comes down to the final 2 weeks. I mean, it's as bad as you walk up to the draw window and you're like anxiety kicking in because, that could really be it. You draw in back of a loaded heat race and it's done, right? And back in the day, they had heat points and feature points. But now they don't have that. But the key is, let's be honest, these big invitationals are won in the heat race, right? If you don't finish in the top spot or top 2 spots, or if it's passing points, you got to put yourself in position. You don't see too many of these specials where somebody's winning from row 5, row 6, row 7. You just don't see that, right? So the heat race is everything, and then it's all the pressure's on. But man, I'm telling you what. So I had, of course, my first national championship racing with Ishans. We're down to the wire, right? It came down to the last race over at the Deer Creek Speedway. He redrew the front row. I redrew 12th. I was having a complete and utter meltdown. I probably didn't handle it very well. But we ended up sneaking by him there in the closing laps and got it done. And then, of course, my favorite one was 2000. I think it was 2005. But it was at it was 2005 at Proctoberfest. Ross, he led, and I had to win. And I slid him on the last lap, and all hell broke loose in 3 and 4. But the pressure, I told Tyler Peterson, I said, good luck sleeping this week. He's like, no, I'm over it. Yeah, bullshit. He's full of shit, too. Right? He can say that all day long, right? But he's thinking about it, right? Because they work their tails off. They put themselves in position. And all you can do is all you can do. You can prepare. You want to make sure you do it. You're doing extra maintenance during the week, and you're making sure there's no issues with anything, and you're really looking over things because, I mean, one little mess up can cost you a whole season. So you got to be prepared. But whoever's got the most mental toughness, remember, Tyler Peterson, he's been here before. He ain't won a national championship. Nebraska's got like 7,000 of them, right? So he's been there. But they got different kinds of pressures, right? You know, Tyler Peterson's got the pressure of, I'm trying to win my first one. I want to seal the deal. I want to get it done. And then Shane Sabraski's got such high expectations, right? He's got the corporate team, so to speak, with West Metro. You know, Jeff Sell owns everything. So he's got that added pressure of like, I'm expected to win. And he's done it before, right? So he's got that. He's got everybody going, it's Shane Sabraski. He's supposed to win. And Tyler Peterson's over here going, he ain't supposed to win nothing. I'm coming, right? So, I mean, it's cool. I mean, myself, personally, I don't care if it's a Hornet or a go-kart. If it's coming down to the final night, there's a points battle, like, you have my attention. So I'm, like, locked in on this mobile. What do you guys think of these point battles?
No, I agree. I mean, that's one thing I'm actually disappointed at the end of the year if the points aren't close, because I like going to that final race of the season at a whatever track it is, and you know, seeing how drivers handle the points, you know, depending on how large of a lead they have. You know, some may lay back and, you know, just stay out of trouble, or I mean, I saw this was in a 4-cylinder race. It was the first year they had 4 cylinders weekly at Channel Speedway, I believe. And it was like a 2-point difference. And I can't remember if I think he was the guy leading the points entering, and he drove it hard into the wall, into the corner, going for a win. And he smucked the wall, and his championship was done. But I mean, you got to give him credit for going for the win. You know, versus, you know, just laying back and, you know, trying to race for points.
Yeah, you're right. Go ahead, Puka.
No, I just to say, when we kind of put this on the agenda, I just got to kind of thinking about points, not necessarily national points, but, 15 years ago, it seemed like it was still kind of a big deal to win track points. There was like some pride in it. And boy, that just seems like, I don't know if it was the 2009 recession or what since then, but something, there was a flip of the switch, and it just doesn't. I just don't know anyone that really cares. I mean, what do you think, Ryan?
I think it depends on the track, and it depends on the driver, depends on the class. Like I promise, Kevin Sleen winning his first ever track championship at the Hibbing Raceway, he's pumped about that, and he should be, right? I mean, he did what he had to do all season long to put himself in a position. A lot of drivers, they're like, well, I'm gonna go hit a couple specials here and there. I think that myself, I would like to see more of a focus on that, right? So what I'd like to see WISSOTA do is generate more sponsors and focus on them track points, right? Because that's what's going to help them tracks survive, is getting that culture back at the racetrack of like, hey, we're the champion of our track, but there's got to be some money at stake for that to happen, more than just pride. So I think I'd like to see WISSOTA step in and really make the track point battles worth something at the end of the day.
Sure.
So with that said, what do you say we get into some national racing scene here? Of course, we'll start with the Lucas Oil late models. They had a pair of shows this past weekend down at Raceway 7, and of course the Pittsburgher 100. I know that both of you guys watch the Lucas Oil late models, so I'll let you guys take the floor. And Bert, why don't you go ahead and go first? What stuck out to you? First at Raceway 7, then at the Pittsburgher. What stuck out to you, Puka? Then you can fill in, and then I'll fill in the blanks after that.
Well, Friday's race, the Bad Luck Award has to go to Shane Clanton, because he was leading that race and probably would have won that race. But he got a flat tire late in the race, so that ended his chance at the victory. And there was some unknown driver that finished second in that race. I don't know who was driving that number 14, but it was a good run for Josh Richards. I mean, he really needed a good solid run because he's really kind of been sneaking it up lately. And I didn't see what happened to Jimmy Owens, but he started 23rd and he was racing a backup car, but he rebounded and finished 5th. So I mean that was a good run for him, despite all the problems that he had. But the point leader Tim McCready won that race, so he's not coasting to the victory. He's still racing hard, accumulating as many points as he can get.
Yeah, no, and I think he's got 4 on the year, which he's not even leading the wins, but he's leading the points. And Jimmy Owens is a guy who's been on our not hot list all year. It feels like it was only last week, but it was longer than that. He wasn't even in the top 10 in points, and he's climbed into the top 3 now. So he's really turned things around over the last few weeks here. So good for him. So how about Puka? Let's start with you over on the Raceway 7. Anything stick out to you on that race over there?
Yeah, I just want to echo what Bert said with the flat tires. So you had Clanton get the flat tire. You had JD cut down both left tires. And you had the Truth, Greg Satterley, get a tire. So I'm thinking, obviously, there's something on the track. And how pissed off are you as a team? You bust your balls to get there. And people are cutting. I mean, like I said, nobody knows. Obviously, if they knew there was something there. But there obviously was something on the track there. And like I said, it was glaring. I mean, JD came in the corner, both left side tires flat. I mean, come on. I haven't seen that all year.
Right.
How much? Any of the three of us, and we've consumed a shit ton of racing this year. A guy comes into a corner, he's got both tires flat. So that was, got to be extremely disappointing, especially as a race. Oh, go ahead. Don't you have something?
No, I was just thinking of the scene in Days of Thunder where he comes in, change my tires.
That's what I'm talking about right there. So how about the Pittsburgher 100? Nothing really stuck out to me in Raceway 7. Of course, T-Mac parking in Victory Lane, and ending the season strong. I mean, he's been good all year. But the Pittsburgher 100, we talked about this one, like the most overpriced show, $50 to get in the grandstands, $75 to get in the pits for a single-day event. I'm like, good grief, right? It looked like the crowd was okay. I wouldn't say it was like spectacular, but I mean, they probably made money with that price. But what stuck out, that was a pretty good race. What stuck out to me initially was $20,000 to win 100 laps. I'm like, wow, that's a lot of laps for a 20,000 win race, in my opinion, especially when they had Texas was 40 laps for $50,000 to win, right? So kind of an interesting deal there. But as far as the race goes, Puka, let's start with you. What stuck out over in Pittsburgh?
Well, and that's a tough track. If you remember last year, guys were blowing tires like crazy. That was RTJ's, I think, lone win last year in the Lucas Series. I wanted to pick him this year, but after that rollover last weekend, I didn't know what kind of car he'd be in or what kind of shape he'd be in, so I didn't. And you did see, some DNFs. That's a kind of a big, fast track. I want to go back to Owens, like Bert said. 5th place run on Friday night, Saturday night. He was running well, and then with about 20 to go, he broke. But he's, like I said, he's been sneaky fast lately. He's picked it up about the last month, 6 weeks. There's a guy that might want to look at for a big rebound in the points and a potential, to make a run at this championship next year in the Lucas. Bert, how about you? What'd you see on Saturday night?
Lots of cautions when I was watching that. But I mean, you're talking about ticket prices earlier too, and it's like late in the race, there are 14 cars left in the race. So I mean, it's and now I didn't see why Hudson O'Neal lost a lap, but I mean, he got the lucky dog to get back on the lead lap. And I kind of have an issue with him a little bit for bringing out a caution so he could go into the pits and make a shock adjustment. I hate it when drivers know a tire is going down, so they slow down and then they go into the pits. So are we going to start to see drivers slowing down, bringing out a caution so they can make shock adjustments and other adjustments on their cars?
Great question.
That was interesting. I thought there was a rule. I thought I read somewhere there's a rule that you can't bring out a caution to change a tire in the Lucas.
Yeah, he didn't change a tire.
Yeah, it ended up being a shock deal, which was obviously advantageous. So with so another thing, 100 lap race, they had a fuel stop, lap 50. Right? That's how big the track was. They couldn't go 100 laps. So I thought that was interesting. Well, on lap 45, he went a lap down. He got lapped. And then as they took, it was interesting, as they took the white flag, or not the white flag, but as they went across lap 50, right? So they ended lap 50, the leader, which is EPJ, he's been running good since the change too, he actually put RTJ a lap down coming through 1 and 2. Okay, so they come back around, they throw the yellow, red, or whatever to stop it for the fuel stop. There was all kinds of confusion. They're like, the last car he lapped was RTJ, but it was after they froze the field. So he had went across lap 50, and everybody had to come around. He was frozen, so EPJ was right ahead of him, which was lucky for Hudson, because Hudson then was the first car on that was a lap down, and on the fuel stop they tagged he was on the back of the lead lap. And then, of course, 5 laps later, he brought out the yellow, made an adjustment, and went on to win the race. On the bottom, 7 to go, he got by EPJ right on the very, very bottom of the racetrack. Found a little brown down there, 20 grand to win for him. Pretty interesting deal. EPJ, what's your thoughts on him? You know, he'd been kind of the king of provisional land, and then decided, remember, where was it, Florida or something? Like every night he was in the provisional. It's like, why are you going to run the heat? They're getting the provisional. And now he's driving for Jason Papich. He's been looking pretty good. I mean, I don't have it in front of me, but I mean, heck, he got, I think, second there. I think
I have his results since the team change.
What's that like?
Since the team change, he's finished 7th, 12th, 4th, 12th, 6th, 4th, 3rd, and 2nd.
Oh,
that's a
market improvement.
Yeah, that's huge. So much needed team change. Sounds like Forrest Lucas down there was kind of pushing him to go a different direction, because of course he's sponsored by Lucas Oil. So that's good to see. You know, good to see the Hurricane. He needed to get back on track, because we're wondering if he's ever going to be competitive again, and maybe he's back.
Yeah, maybe. I've got the fan question of the week from Cowboy Up Racing, but do you have anything else?
Well, speaking of Cowboy, I want one more shout out to our buddy Shane Howell for that win over the night 1 of the Lose Madtown Showdown. So Shane Howell parking in Victory Lane over there. Boy, when they come to the Can-Am Clash up in Superior, I got a sneaking suspicion that L1 is going to be the guy to beat. He's been really good in Superior. But what's the question? What do you got?
Yeah, so I actually have 2 questions. So we'll start with this one, and please comment here, fans. Should lappers, we just talked about how Huddy got pretty lucky, and then got in front of the lappers there, and was able to come in and win that race on Saturday night. Should lappers be put in line or put to the back? I know there was a time, and Bert, you might be able to echo this, I think when the UMPs in the 90s, they shuffled the lap cars right in. But I guess who wants to start?
Bert, go ahead.
Well, I do remember, I don't know what organizations or where I saw it, but yeah, I have been to races where they've lined up the lap cars where they were on the track. So yeah, you would have cars on the lead lap mixed with cars that are a lap down. Me personally, I think they should be put in the back. I just think I don't want a lap car to influence the result of the race. That would be my reasoning.
I do. Right. I want them to influence the result of the race. I do. It creates excitement. I mean, how many times have we seen a late model race kind of trained up, and we're like, oh man, I hope they get to lap traffic, because it's going to finally get interesting again. Right? So there's that. But so 2 things happen, right? I've seen it when the lap cars, there's a yellow, they put them to the back, right? But there's 2 completely different sets of rules when that happens. One track, like back in Hibbing, the rule was, if you're a lap down, the yellow comes out, they put you to the back, and you got your lap back. So why would you automatically get your lap back? That's bullshit, right? That don't even make sense. But on the flip side of that, if you're a lap down, let's say you just went the lap down, right? Let's say that only the leader passed you and the yellow comes out. And if they put you to the back and you don't get your lap back, well, that's bullshit too. Because, now it's like you might just pull off. Like, because you ain't going to get your lap back. It's over, right? So I've seen both of that. And to me, I think especially, I guess it doesn't matter how long the race is. I don't care if it's 20, 30, 40, 50 laps or whatever. I think that you're better off just putting them at night. And some drivers are going to be like, oh my gosh, you're going to put a bunch of lappers there. They're going to wreck the field. And that's part of the game. If the yellow wouldn't have came out, you were going to have to deal with that car. And if the leader put 4 or 5 lap cars in between him and second place, well, guess what? Now the yellow comes out to give you an advantage. I mean, he literally, I mean, so I don't know. I think that I would like to see them put the lappers in line, you know, because you definitely don't want to put the lappers back, just give them the lap back, and all of a sudden, wow, now they have a chance to come, like you said, 14 cars finish that race. You get a 100-lap race where there's a lot of attrition, and every time there's a lap, you know, you're a lap down, you get your spot back or get your lap back. Pretty soon there's 10 cars left, you win the race. That ain't right. That's kind of hokey, right? The leader put the guy a lap down, get your shit together at the beginning of the race, don't go a lap down, right? You know, but on the flip side, I mean, I don't know. I think as long as it's the same everywhere, that's the end of the day. But as a fan, as an enthusiast, I think it'd be super interesting to just put them in line, you know, because that your goal is when you're coming up on lap traffic, you want to put some separation between you and second. You're working on getting through lap traffic better than the next guy. And if you do, that's going to win you the race, and you shouldn't get a free pass just because the yellow came out. So I don't know. That's something for the fans to comment on. That's a really good question, actually. But that's something for the fans to comment on. I'd like to hear what everybody else has to think about that.
Yeah, because I think I know why they do it. The series do it to kind of protect their boys. You know, like I said, I mean, JD drove from Blairsville, Georgia to Pennsylvania and Iowa for the weekend. They want to make sure he's in the money, you know. And so I think that's one of the why they do it. Any other comments on that? Because I got another question for you.
You probably see some boxing matches if they put the lappers in, because I guarantee if you put the lappers in line, it's going to have an adverse effect multiple times throughout the season, but it creates excitement, creates drama, gets the fans talking. So yeah, there's multiple sides to that coin. So what's the next question you got?
It could be a good thing. All right, I want you to both of you put your car owner hats on. I was thinking about this a lot. So we got T-Mac, like Bert said, T-Mac racing hard on Friday. You know, he's probably got it. I think B-Shep is pretty much clinched in the Woo late models, which we're going to talk about in a second. But T-Mac, I think mathematically, he still hasn't clinched it, but it's going to be pretty tough. So now, you're Don and Gina Brasher, you own the Mega Plumbing team. COVID is everywhere. JD was just out. You just were talking about North Dakota, a bunch of people out. Dave Moss out. What do you do as a car owner? You're looking at like $100,000 check, probably more for the Lucas Championship. Do you make T-Mac mask? Do you make T-Mac get the shot? His pitman? You know, everyone around. I mean, what do you do in this situation? They've got 6 races left, I think, on the Lucas schedule, and you're moving around, right? You're going over here. You know, this weekend they're moving around to another, going from the Northeast down to the deep South. What do you do in this situation? Ryan, you want to start?
Yeah, that's Puka. Pooka. All the hate mail can go to him. And if you see him at the track, he's got the visor or the flat bill going on. That's not us, okay? Man, I'm telling you, like, I don't believe in making anybody mask. So, I mean, the racing community as a whole, we're pretty bullheaded. Like, if you tell us we have to do something now as a car owner, man, I don't know. I would just be I don't think I'd be telling them you got a mask or vaccine. I'd just be saying
$100,000.
Here's what I'd be saying. I'd be looking at them and saying, look, okay, you need to have common sense. I can't tell you what to do, but we have just a couple weeks left. Stay the hell away from people. Just keep yourself in a bubble. Like, you got to be smart. You got to put it on your driver. Like, I'm paying your bills. I'm giving you this opportunity. Literally, you need to buck up the next couple of weeks and just stay in the shop, stay in the hauler, stay the hell away from people, because we need to seal the deal on this. You can't force them to do it, but I'd be doing everything I could to say, stay out of harm's way, right? And because when there's that much money on the line, you're leading the points $100,000. I mean, or whatever it is, we're talking some big money. Yeah.
The problem is you get T-Mac wins the race on Friday. So what do the fans do? I want a picture. Can I get a selfie? I mean, I stood in line for 15 minutes with Sheldon Hottenshield out in Grand Forks a month ago so my son could get a picture with him. He stood there for every single person. He did not leave till every single person I wanted a picture with him in the orange Nas suit. and so, that's the problem. It's like, well, then all of a sudden T-Mac's being a dick. He's not coming out of his holler. Like I said, this opens up kind of a can of worms. What do you think, Bert?
I agree with Ryan. I mean, I don't want to get into a political thing here, but I don't think masks work. So I don't think that there's a reason to make him wear a mask. If you get the vaccine, you can still get COVID, as we're finding out. I agree with Ryan. You just got to kind of be smart and kind of keep your space from people. And I mean, Puka, you bring up a good point, though. I mean, that's one of the things that fans look forward to, though, after races is the accessibility of the drivers. When you compare the accessibility of drivers to the accessibility of NASCAR drivers, I mean, there's no comparison. So there is that issue, but I mean, I think it's just, be smart, stay away from people as much as possible, try to isolate yourself as much as possible, and hope you don't get it.
Now you're going to have all Hudson O'Neal's fans that have COVID going trying to hang out with T-Mac.
Go make up T-Mac. Yeah. So anyway, just something I thought of right before the show. It's just kind of interesting. But yeah, please comment.
Something too, and I don't know about hardship points, right? So I don't know how many shows that applies to or what, but I know that I believe you get show points, right? So if he in fact gets COVID and has to miss a race, does he get how does that? There's a hardship point deal in there. Maybe he gets some points in there. Maybe they have some kind of a clause because didn't somebody had it too, Clant or somebody thought they got points.
Well, the guy from Louisiana, Diller did it.
Yeah,
remember
Diller
Mars put the number on, and then Gustin, was that last year?
That was World of Outlaws, though. I mean, they have different rules than Lucas.
Yeah, different rules. But I think, I think did Gustin get some hardship points for missing something at one time?
He did. Yeah, and I think his hauler broke, or shot burned down, or something like that. What? How many shows are left in Lucas?
Well, I was going to say, I think about
only 6. A couple weeks. I mean, there's not many.
Yeah, they got a couple. They got a couple shows coming up here this weekend, and then of course they have the Dirt Track World Championship, right?
I can tell you exactly here. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Well, 5 nights, including the prelim night. So Smoky Mountain, the Dixie Shootout in Rome, and then the Dirt Track World Championship the following weekend. So prelims on Friday, main event Saturday. So that's it'd be tough for him to lose it, but if he doesn't race, like this week would be a prime example. 3 points races. He tests positive for COVID tomorrow. He's not going. So and if Buddy gets lucky and win,
he's not going to get tested.
There it is, right there. Right. There's no the NFL. There's no mandatory testing.
Well, that's what I'm wondering, if they are mandating some sort of, because why would JD have done it? Why would these other guys?
He's probably sick.
Bed sick.
Yeah. The fact of the matter is, you just got to be smart, and this even goes for Tyler Peterson, Shane Sabraska.
Yeah, same thing, right?
I mean, the money ain't as big, right, or whatever, but it comes down to you need one show to win it all. I mean, you best just have some common sense over the next couple of weeks and stay the heck away from people. I honestly, COVID is obviously worse, but I mean, you could get the flu or any stupid thing. You just don't want to get sick. You don't want to hang around sick people. The last couple of weeks here, you just want to stay the heck away from them. So that's a good question, and Hudson O'Neal fans, do not go hang around T-Mac. Don't do that. That's
Shane, TPO, stay away from your girlfriends for the next couple of weeks. Just don't answer their texts.
Right, exactly. Stay away. Distance yourself. Put yourself in a bubble. All right, so World of Outlaw late models. They had a pair of shows, and we're down in Madden country, right? We're down Cherokee. They had the Mike Duval, the old Flintstone Flyer Memorial. They had that, and then in Sonoya they had a show as well. So, what stuck out to you on the World of Outlaw scene?
Well, once again, Brandon Overton added to his winning total. So make sure how much was that one to win? I'm not even sure. Okay.
Nope.
But it wasn't. He had to work for that one a little bit. I mean, he was running second for most of the race, and then actually you know, we've talked a lot about lap traffic. You know, that played a role in him taking the lead with, it was around 14 laps to go. And other than that, the race really wasn't, there really wasn't much else going on. You know, watching Overton, seeing if he can add to, seeing how much he can add to his winnings is actually was the most exciting thing about that race.
Yeah.
The other thing that stuck out, Puka, go ahead. You go first.
Oh, no, I'll just say, yeah, Overton is really good there at Cherokee. I mean, he was good at that race, the G.O.A.T a month ago, and he's really good. Remember a month ago, he was the only guy that could kind of go one lane up, you know, and to get around JD and such. So he looked really good.
I was impressed with that Dalton Wilson, local guy down there. You know, he led the lion's share of that race, and Overton got by him, kind of used the lap car as a pick. And then he also lost the spot to Bishop. Fergie, though, remember, he actually put a slider on Bishop with just a handful to go, and he overdid the slider and parked it in the fence and kept going. He fell back to fourth. But Fergie had a pretty good hot rod. He really wasn't that far behind Overton. If he could have made that stick, he might have made a run. He had a pretty good car there. But like you said, Overton was a story. And then over in Sonoya, they had a show there as well. Home track for Air Force Ashton Winger, who's really kind of had his coming out year. He parked it in Victory Lane. What else stuck out to you in that race besides him holding off Madden, who that's his area?
Go ahead.
Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
Okay, I say I love that track. I mean that, you know, before and I don't mind the tractors and stuff, but there was a time when you went to specials, there were no tractors. You know, like the early USA National, remember, Bert, that thing was black top to bottom. It was slippery, but you could still maneuver around. So I loved it. I mean, it was almost watching those races now. Some people might say it's boring, but for me, it's just more throwing back. You know, it's like, you know, I remember races that were like this. I remember tires just spinning and you barely inch by those guys. Like, you know, like you won your first Labor Day shootout, right? Track was black from top to bottom, you know, and so that's what I thought was pretty cool. But I saw Joyner was back in the house after that $50,000 check last week, and it looked like he did all right. And remember, they scheduled this race about tire shortage. You guys hear anything about tire shortage on the weekend? Remember, they canceled the Rev. Yeah. Remember, the tire shortage. We need to cancel the race. We're going to schedule Cherokee, and then go to Sonoya. What? Just go ahead, Bert.
No, I mean, and. You know, we've talked a lot about Madden on the show. He had a good run, and he challenged Winger a little bit in that race, but Winger was definitely the class of the field.
Yeah, he's been good. Now, we have a you make the call on this one here because, you know, you saw who started on P1, right? Yeah. So who started on the pole, Brent Larson.
Yeah. P1 Bomber, yeah.
P1 Bomber. He was up in the top 5, battling 5th, 6th, or whatever, and he lost a spot. I think Herb got by him, and then he's rolling kind of the middle, almost to the top and not to the top. And the Reaper was coming on the high side, Ryan Gustin, and he rolled through 1 and 2. They come down the back straightaway, and all hell broke loose. They created a parking lot. They got together. Both of them got turned around. And then the donkey award to the dumbasses in the back of the pack that, like, literally, I don't know if they had their eyes closed or what, but like they were so far back and they still drove into the wreck. I don't know how the hell that happened, right? But that's a you make the call deal. I mean, did you guys see that incident? I mean, who would you have called that on?
I did not see the incident. I just watched the highlights, and and they said there was a wreck, but they didn't show the wreck, so I didn't see it.
Yeah. All I saw was the parking lot entering corner. Was it corner 3? I saw the parking lot, but I didn't know how it all happened either.
Yeah, I'll post it on here for everybody to see. If you're a fan, you comment. A tough deal for Brent Larson, who had a good run going. He was solid inside the top 10. Reaper was fast, but it was kind of it didn't look to me like Brent Larson really came up. It really didn't. It looked like Brent kind of held his line. Gustin had a good run, and he should have went underneath them or hit the brakes, and looked like he clipped the wall and sent them both turning around. And I know Brent was not happy after that one. He was definitely a little bit feisty after that one because it cost him, and I don't know what all happened afterwards, but I'll post that on here for everybody to see. And then the Lucas Oil MLRA they were actually the support class over at the Sycamore Speedway for the street stocks over there. Again, they ran the street stock last because that's what you do. The finale's at the end of the show. That's kind of the undercard. Did you guys watch that? I know you guys watched the late model feature. I'm going to talk about the street stock feature because that one's way more exciting. But did you guys watch the late model feature?
I did watch the 40-minute late model feature.
Puka, did you see that one or no?
Yeah, I did. Yeah, I just, Spatola had a good run. Albertson with the win. I mean, I haven't seen Albertson that fast ever. I mean, Pierce was out. We talked about this before the show. You know, Pierce was out to a big lead, and then I don't know. All of a sudden, he was spun out. I don't know if he got into a lap car got into him. He was trying to maneuver around a lap car, but you could see during the caution they were both sitting there. And I see Shirley was driving a 33 car. Bert, do you have any information on that?
I don't have any information on that. I noticed that also because they kept saying Brian Shirley, and I saw him in the lineup, and it's like, where's his car? But then I realized he was driving a 33 car.
Yeah, I don't have anything on that either. And like Ruben Morales would say, New Mexico represent, right? Gary Albertson. He's ran good over in Illinois. He won the Fabral when I was over at LaSalle as well. So pretty good hot rod. And then the Pierce deal, I didn't see what happened. What sucks to me is that this is the track that's closest to me. I was in Des Moines. I watched it on Flow Racing. And I'm like, man, this place has been pretty darn good all year. Good top, good bottom, cushion, not dusty. And then Bert's like, when the Dirt Kings went there, it was a dust bowl. Is it always like that? I'm like, no, it's usually good. And it was horrendous. I mean, literally lap one of a 50-lap late model feature. It was locked on rubber on the tires, and the whole rest of the track was marbles. I'm like, what are they doing? Why are they not farming the racetrack? It was a debacle. I mean, it was dusty. You couldn't even see the track. I don't know what happened because I didn't see it. They didn't catch the camera, didn't get turned. But I know Pierce got together with a lap somehow, some way, shape, or form. Pierce obviously felt like he should have got his spot back. Okay. Mm-hmm. And my buddy Dave, he's lined up for the street stock feature, and they're like yelling at Pierce, like, you get the hell off the track, and you're banned from all of our events. Like, you ain't coming anymore. Because he kept pulling the pull ahead, and then he'd stop and let the field down. Like, he was really dicking around. Like, he did not want to go to the back. He'd pull ahead and stop, and then he'd wait for the pack, and then he'd drive way ahead. I'm like, what is he doing? And the Lucas Oil MLRA series director was not having. He was not happy. And I didn't see the incident. I can't speak on the incident. I did not see the incident. But needless to say, he ended up getting tore up at the end of it. He got, I think he lost his brakes, hit the wall, wrecked a bunch of stuff, but kind of a tough break. They don't normally stream races there, right? And it just sucks that when they finally have live streaming at that event, it's a freaking debacle of a racetrack, because it's one of those deals. It's not normally like that, right? And that just was one of those deals that's going to get people to shy away, like, oh, that sucks. We ain't going there, because it's usually pretty good. Kind of disappointing. But my proud moment of the year, I want a tip of the cap to my buddy Dave Dulciak. I am so jacked, locked up the track, his first ever track championship in the street stock. We've been talking about him all year. I helped him out a little bit. Super pumped, good buddy of mine. And the one thing he did not want to have happen, and it was just eating at him, he's like, I don't want to win the points without winning a feature. Like, because I told him, I said, you do that shit, you're wearing a bridesmaid's dress in the bank. That's just plain and simple. It's going to happen. I'll get it picked out. I'll talk to your better half and get you all sized up. And it was looking like it was going to be that way. And he was in third. He was solid. He was there. And they take the white flag, and I'm like, oh, he's going to get third. It is what it is. They come into 1 and 2. Tim Loomis is leading. Joel Hernandez is running second. Loomis gets a little bit loose. Hernandez turns him. He goes around both of them on the last lap and takes home the win on the final night. So super cool. Glad to see him in victory lane. Sometimes you'd rather be lucky than good. It is what it is. But it was great to see him get the win and lock up the championship all in the same night. So, again, tip of the cap to him, and pretty excited about that one. So let's talk a little sprint car action. Big show this weekend. There was a big show, a pair of shows over at Williams Grove. Did you guys get a chance to watch the World of Outlaws?
I watched the highlights for both races. I saw Baby Jesus, Kyle Larson, win the first race.
That was Shots called him, you said? Shots called him?
Yeah, Donnie Shots. I'm assuming it was after that race. I saw an interview. I couldn't find the video to send you, but yeah, they were talking to Shots about the race, and he said, Kyle Larson, baby Jesus driving the 57 car. What are you going to do?
He's good. No, Shots has been good. He's been top 5 almost every night the second half of the year. He got third in that deal. Remember we talked about Kin Gravel Catch Sweet, right? We were talking about that. Sweet spun out by himself. Got 15th. And I'm like, there's an opportunity. But then Gravel hurt a motor and ended up DNFing. So he actually lost points because he DNF got 25th. So overall a bad point night there. But Logan Schuchart, kind of a pretty cool deal. Did you see his car, Bert? He had the scruffy Bobby Allen throwback car. Silver sides. He had the one. I think he had a 1S, and Jacob Allen had the 1A. But it was the old Bobby Allen throwback scheme they had on both of those cars.
Okay, I noticed he had a different looking car, and it was kind of plain looking. So I was wondering if it was if he had problems and it was a backup car or something.
I wasn't sure either. Then
that makes sense.
I could be wrong, but Keith, our buddy, our sprint car expert, maybe comment, let us know. But I believe that's the car, that the style, the look that he won the Knoxville Nationals in. So I think that's what he won that one.
Okay.
So that's kind of a cool deal because, of course, I think he's a grandpa, right, to Jacob Allen. Pretty sure he's the grandpa to Jacob Allen, and I think he's a grandpa to both. I think Logan Schuchart is actually must be his daughter's kid or something. So I think they're somehow tied in together. So night number 1, of course, went to Young Money. Night number 2, $75,000 to win the National Open. And, of course, Williams Grove, Pennsylvania Posse, right? A lot of hype, Posse, World of Outlaws, a lot of drama. Brent Marks, Pennsylvania Posse on the pole, drove away. He's gone. Did you see that? He was checked out. Looked like he had that pretty well in hand. And then he decided to drive into Lapper and spin out. Oops. That one cost him. So, of course, no fault rule. He spun out. He went to the back, but he gave one away. That was a tough break. And really, the end of that one, Carson Macedo, he put on a pretty good race, and he actually got by Logan Schuchart. And what I noticed is Macedo is a really good blocker. When he got the lead, I mean, he literally, it's like he had a mirror. He was blocking the slider, and he just made that car really wide. But Logan Schuchart, he's been pretty good as of late. A pair of seconds over the weekend, pretty darn solid this last month. Could he be a guy to maybe win down at the World Finals?
Schuchart, I think he's a half-mile guy. He's better on those bigger tracks. I mean, well, is that a half-mile? That is a half-mile down there, isn't it? Charlotte is a big one. So, yeah, then he is. I mean, Grand Forks, he's not a factor, but on those bigger tracks, he does pretty well.
So, what do you guys say we get into some who's hot and who's not, brought to you by
our buddies over at Blue Line Brew. So if you were at the races this week, and I'm sure you could have used some hot coffee, and this is the spot you want to go to, Blue Line Brews. Of course, you want to support the concession stand when you're at the races there, because they got to pay the person. But when you head back to the camper, it's Blue Line Brews is what you want. Like I said, we're going to be going into many more invites here, so make sure you stock with the Blue Line Brews, bluelinebrews.com, and get your stuff ordered up in the bags. Like I said, announced last week, K-Cups are on their way. They're not quite done yet. We also told you that Justice is coming. That will be the next flavor, a little lighter coffee. This is the Detective Special. This is the Stakeout. So good coffee, great mission. The mission is money goes back to families who've had an injured. I found out it's not just fallen officers, it's also injured officers. So they will help give some money back to those families. And then it is donation month. So, give their Facebook page a like, and they're going to be announcing some of the donations that are going to be going out here in October. So bluelinebrews.com.
Awesome. So, Bert, who do you have? Who's hot?
Number 1 on my list is another week, another victory, and some more money in the bank for Brandon Overton. Number 2, I'm going with AJ Demo. He's really put together a great invitational season. I wish he'd race a little bit more during the summer, but I guess we'll take what we can get here at the end of the season. And number 3, I'm going to go with Earl Pearson Jr. We've belittled him and stuff on this show, so we need to give him some credit when it's deserved, and he's really put together a good string. I mean, 1, 2, 3. His last 4 races, he's finished no worse than 6. So I mean, that's a really good accomplishment considering, you know, when we heard the news that he was splitting from his team, you know, around Labor Day, you know, we didn't know what the future held for him. So he's really rebounded and proving that he still has the talent to be competitive.
Absolutely. Puka, who do you got?
Well, Shane Sabraski, you know, he just keeps winning, so congratulations to him. Like I mentioned, Jimmy Owens is starting to heat up. You know, he's this, I don't even want to say the second half of the year, but maybe the last quarter of the year, you know, and I'm picking him to win a race here this weekend. And then, AJ Demo just getting it done again. Another invitational, another win. If he didn't get in the wall last weekend, he probably would have won that one too. And it's been a long time. I mean, Rick Eggersdorf, maybe back 20, 25 years ago, is the only guy I can really think of that might have swept nearly all of the invites. And Demo was really close to doing that this year. Who you got, Ryan?
He was. And, you know, I can reiterate all the same stuff you guys said. I'm going to go with Tyler Peterson. 17 races since September 1st, 16 podiums and 9 wins. And we counted him out. Like, it was literally over, right? Shane Sabraski, like you said, he won 5 of his last 6 in the super stocks and 4 of his last 5 in the modifieds. Locked up the national championship in the super stocks, and it's TPO versus 7A over the next 2 weeks in the modifieds. AJ Demo, I'll reiterate that. He won both nights of the sites, both nights of the legendary. He got second at the Punky, should have won, and he won the Red Clay Classic. So he's been hot. Overton, 4 of his last 4 straight, 6 of his last 8. And according to Goose, our expert there on keeping track of our earnings there for Overton, $796,000. Here's the question: can he hit $1 million in earnings? So there's a bunch of stuff going on this weekend. He could get almost halfway there over the next 7 days. Okay,
but he has to wear a mask. He has to wear a mask.
He does. But there's still 2 $100,000 to win shows, right? You still got Vegas. You still have the Dirt Track World Championships. I mean, he could literally win one of those races and then a bunch of other stuff and eclipse $1 million, or just do it the easy way and win both them $100,000 shows and get it done. That's going to be fun to watch. Brandon Overton, can he hit $1 million in earnings in 2021? Bert, who's not?
I'm going with a mod guy, Ricky Thornton Jr. He just has, you know, he got off to a pretty good start this year, but he just hasn't been running well. I mean, he had that bad rollover a couple weeks ago, and so I have him on the list. And then my other 2 drivers kind of go hand in hand because Brad Sweet and then Gravel, because Sweet had problems and Gravel could have really made up some points, and then he had problems. So I'm putting them on the not hot because, well, Brad Sweet, I mean, both races last weekend and then even the weekend before, I mean, he just wasn't, it's not the Brad Sweet that we know.
No, there at the beginning of the year, I used to pick Brad Sweet for every sprint car race, and that would not be a good pick right now. That's for sure. That's for sure.
Brad's on my list too. Yeah, last win 9-4 over in Skagit. We're out on the West Coast run, so it's been a month since we've seen Brad Sweet in victory lane. Nothing against Ryan Michelson. Love seeing him win, but I was really pulling for the Sheriff, and my gosh, he just isn't. He isn't just getting any luck this year, you know. So I kind of got him on the not so hot list, and just keep fading Madden enough. Madden did get a runner-up finish this weekend, but even when he gets the runner-up. Excuse me. So the next night when Bishop got lapped in Sanoa and, you know, he just, because Madden was so bad on Friday, he just can't get, I mean, Bishop's basically, or he has locked up the points, but still, you could still be gaining and make it, you know, somewhat respectable. But Madden he cannot get to victory lane. The guy cannot get to victory lane, and he can't get he hasn't been able to gain points on Shepherd in about 3 months. You know, it's just, he came and then it's just been a fade. So continue to fade Madden. How about you, Ryan?
We'll have to look at that for next week's show. How long it's been since he's won a race, because it's been a while for sure. I got Shane Edgerton. He did get on the podium the last 2 nights at Granite, but let's be completely honest. I mean, it was a weak field, light field, a lot of crate cars. It is what it is. But I'm telling you, like the last month, Shane Edgerton has been ice cold. He was really heating up through the middle of the summer, and then it just went. It ain't been good over the last month. And then Davenport, he won at Eldora, but only 1 podium in his last 6 races, and only 2 podiums in his last 13. So 13 races, 2 podiums, and he won at Eldora, of course, right? But man, I would think you'd see him on the podium more than 2 and 13, right? So Davenport's a guy that he's not on, but he has been on a lot this year. Ricky Weiss, we've had him on the not hot list most of the season. He got a 5th. He's been, would you say, over the last few weeks, he's maybe found a little bit more speed? Like, is he kind of, I'm not saying like he is becoming the dominant guy or whatever, but is he trending up? Is he starting to show signs of improvement to where maybe they can have a good starting point with that Sniper chassis for the 2022 season?
I mean, I'd have to look at his results to verify this, but from the eye test, as Ryan likes to say, yeah, I think he is trending up. I mean, that doesn't mean he's finishing in the top 5 or on the podium. But I mean, I think you see him running near the front at least now, where early in the season, I mean, he was in the back from the get-go because he couldn't qualify, and then he was struggling just to get into the, trying not to take a provisional. And so, yeah, I think he's trending up.
Yeah, Rick Asherman.
Go ahead.
I was going to say, Rick Asherman commented, I think it was Saturday in Sonoya. He said, Ricky Wade, what do you get? 4th, I think, or something. That's his best finish in a long time, he said.
Yeah, I think he's had a couple decent ones in there, so I think he's starting to trend up. Hopefully, we want to see Team Canada get back to what we know he can do. So our picks from last week, not a lot of movement. A whole bunch of us had 1 right, and that puts me 1 point, just one ahead of Bert, just 1. And I don't know. I'm just saying, Bert didn't get his picks in. We're going to maybe have to disqualify him this week. We'll call him. Jeff's at 20. He's still in striking distance. Pete's at 16. Puka, you're at 15. Keith's at 12. But we're picking 10 races this week. So on Thursday night, we got the Castro Flow Racing Night in America at Tri-County. Of course, a show I'm looking forward to, Falls Frenzy. Fairbury's got a pair of shows. We got a couple World of Outlaw sprint car shows at Port Royal. Lucas Oil Late Models, Smoky Mountain, the Dixie Shootout down in Georgia, and then the show at Rome. And then Ogilvy, we're going to pick, yes, the modifieds and the late models. So we got 10 of them here this week, so it's going to be quite the interesting week. But with that said, lots of racing going on this week. I want your 1 lock of the week. My lock of the week last week didn't make it to the flag stand. That was a disappointment. Okay, Shane Sobraski's probably pretty happy to see that, because I think he would have been tough to beat. I don't recall, who was your guys' lock of the week last week?
I think mine was Demo winning at Ashland.
Yeah, and I had Sobraski at Granite City in the mod, thinking they were going to be able to the rain and stuff.
And he did. So I was epic fail on my part last week.
No, but I had him at Granite, not at ABC.
He won at Granite.
Well, yeah, I guess he did, but I had him, rain out show. But I was thinking.
You don't want to take credit for being right. That's all right. Puka was wrong.
Puka's in Vegas. It's like, no, I don't want the money.
No, I don't have blackjack. No, you got 20. No, I don't have that. No, they're not both red cards. That don't count. You keep.
Well, I'm going with Sobraski again. I'm going this time in the Super at Ogilvy.
Okay.
I'm going. Brendan Overton will win another race this weekend and add to his bank account.
Brandon Overton will win another race. You have no one in particular that he's going to win?
I don't have my sheet in front of me for the race that I picked him to win.
You're really going out on a limb here. I mean,
Okay, well, hold on.
Overton's going to win a race. I mean, come on. You're killing me here. So I'll let him look to see which one he wants to pick. That's like saying that I'm going to, like, breathe oxygen today. It's kind of the same. Don't even count. It's not even fair. But I guess it is a lock of the week. My lock of the week, Falls Frenzy. Bobby Pierce going to win at Fairbury. 15 grand. He's going to win the main show, not the prelim show. I don't care about that one. But he's going to win Saturday night in Fairbury, Bobby Pierce.
There you go. That's a good one.
Now, Bobby Pierce, Fairbury, Falls, Saturday. And then you have Sobraski, Super. And then Bert has Overton.
I can't find my sheet right now.
Take him in Rome. Dixie Shootout.
Yeah, I'm assuming he's going to the Lucas shows, right? They were all down in his area. I would have to.
Yeah, I think I was taking him in Rome.
Overton in Rome. Okay. All right. When in Rome.
Now I am.
All right. So that's that. Now the last lap, of course, brought to you by Zuli's Race Engines. Of course, get a hold of Frank. Does a great job. I mean, obviously proven winners. Great service. I've heard nothing but good things from a lot of different drivers, and we've seen his stuff in Victory Lane all year long. This is the time of year. Folks, get your stuff to him now. As soon as the season's over, get it to him now. Don't wait until March, right? Get it to him now so he has plenty of time to get it done, get it back to you for the race season. So Zuli Race Engines, now a couple wins this weekend over at Lou's Madtown Showdown. Justin Vogel with a last lap pass to win in the street stocks, and Jake Knapper in a Zuli Race Engine as well. So a couple big wins for Zuli over in western Minnesota. But we talked a little bit about Overton's quest for $1 million. He's at $796,000 over and under, guys. You think he can get it done?
Go ahead.
I'm gonna go under.
I think I'm going to go under, but the thing I didn't realize was those couple of flow races. Those are 20 to win. 20,000 this week, 20,000 next week. And then we're going to talk about in a second here, the Gateway Dirt Nationals are on the card. But even with all of that, I think I'm going to take the under.
I'm going over, and I don't think it's going to be close. I think he's going to win at Vegas. I think he's going to win. I think he's got a legit shot to win the Dirt Track World Championships. Them two right there puts him over. Or I guess 4,000, right? So I'm going to put him over. It'll be interesting. This is a fun one to watch. This is even cooler than Sobraski's 50 from last year. $1 million in earnings is a big deal in dirt track racing. Now, World of Outlaws made an announcement here. Sounds like a little bit of a schedule change. Some things going on in 2022. I guess we'll call it their rough draft, so to speak, because they're going to be adding to it. But what stuck out to you?
You want to go first?
Well, I didn't look at the changes real close. The one that caught my attention was that the World of Outlaws at Mississippi Thunder will be a 3-night show this year instead of a 2-night show, or 3-night show next year. It was a 2-night show this year, so they're adding a night of racing. So, I mean, it's good to see the world, a national series race in Wisconsin. But, adding another night that, that it's a lot of, there's more risk involved. Let's just say that.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see how it goes. They do a hell of a job. Both shows down there last year, this year at Mississippi Thunder were highly entertaining, good racing. So I'm not personally a fan of the triple header deal. It seems like that first day is a little light on fans, but I mean, if they can make it happen, if they got the funding to do it, I guarantee I'll be watching it. I might not be there, but I'll be watching it. So, anything stick out to you there, Puka?
Well, the biggest news is that the series returning. There are a lot of rumors just a week, 2 weeks, a month ago that there might not be one, and I was kind of on the side that they're going to have it because the crowds have been for the most part pretty good, and we can argue and people can argue about the competition level, but it's the crowd that pays the bills, and the crowd is there. The show must go on, and so we're going to see these guys in 2022. $25,000 bump to the champs. It'll be $125,000 to the winner, and at least a $5,000 bump to every position in spots 2 through 12. you can actually look at the announcement that was sent out, and they give some. I mean, $34,000 for 6th, $20,000 for 12th. So they're paying pretty deep. You know, like I said, probably looking for about 12 cars to follow that thing. That's probably, well, that's more, of course, than they've got this year. Bristol back on the schedule there at the end of April. Like I said, Mississippi Thunder with the 3-day show, and then Boone with the 2-day show. You know, they were supposed to do what? That it was the Corey Sommer event last year. Remember the Hawkeye 100, was it? Yep. That, you know, never got off the ground due to COVID. So pretty cool seeing them going to Boone.
And they had this year. They had the Hawkeye 100 this year. Yeah.
Yeah.
And the first half of that race was amazing, and then it locked down. It was the first half was good. Didn't Pierce win that? I think Pierce won that one, didn't he?
Pierce, I think, won it. Yes.
Yeah.
It's like 15 grand or something.
Yeah, it's interesting that they're coming back because I heard a lot of rumors. Now there are some rumors going around, and at this time this is rumors. Okay, this ain't fact. This is rumors. Okay, our sources are telling us a couple of rumors. One of the rumors is Bishop's out of the Rocket ride at the end of the year. So it sounds like he is fed up. He's done, and that they have decided that they're going to part ways at the end of the season. I don't know if he's going to stay in the Rocket, drive for his grandparents. I don't know what the rumor. You know, this is still in the beginning stages, but keep an eye on Brandon Shepard. And another rumor going around that's pretty hot and heavy right now, I've heard this a couple places, Ricky Weiss may not follow the series next year. Sounds like he may decide to kind of try to do the Brandon Overton type schedule of just kind of picking and choosing. A little risk there, right? No provisionals on that deal, but a lot of money on the line. You start having some of these shows like XR put on all these big shows. You start having all that. You know, when you start picking and choosing, maybe there's an opportunity to race for a little bit more coin. It'll be interesting to see.
Well, I heard a rumor too that Burt Bronson might follow the World of Outlaws too. That was in a recent interview.
Okay. So
well, I mean, you know, like you said, a guy like him, I mean, he's pretty much guaranteed a top 3 in points, isn't he? You know, so we'll really get into the silly season, the rumor mill over the next month or two.
Yeah, it always happens this time of year, right? Now, speaking of late models, right? You mentioned the Gateway Dirt Nationals. Okay, of course, it's not just late models; they have mods and midgets right down there. But late models is the main show. Pretty excited about that. What's you guys?
So we finally know for sure December 2nd through the 4th, the Castro Gateway Dirt Nationals, of course, in St. Louis. You know, there's been rumors that it was going to go, but there just hasn't been. Finally, the social media this week really started popping up. They finally had some dates and stuff because it just kept saying right around Labor Day to be announced. Or no, it said something like news coming soon. Then it was a week. Then it was 2 weeks. Then it was 3 weeks. Like, well, how soon is the news coming out? So yeah, so it's locked and loaded December 2nd through the 4th.
Yeah, and the COVID numbers were really high about a month ago down in that area, but now they seem to be declining. And I wonder if that kind of was a determining factor of, okay, we're going to go now. And speaking of that, of course, Cody Sommer kind of created that deal a little bit. Well, not a little bit, like big news, I guess, with Cody Sommer. What's happening there? Bert.
Cool.
Well, him and Scott Bloomquist, they are parting ways. So it'll be interesting to see what happens at Bloomquist Racing in the future, because you know everything was that he was trying to get everything back in order in the chaos down there. So we'll see if there's additional chaos in the future.
Yeah, Bloomer needs to focus on racing cars, and he doesn't seem to be quite the business guy, but he knows racing. Let's put it that way. It'll be interesting to see what happens. And something else happened over in eastern Wisconsin this past weekend. I thought was super cool. But Bert, that's your neck of the woods. Little modified stuff.
Yeah, you know, in eastern Wisconsin this time of the year, we don't have as many races as you guys in Minnesota and western Wisconsin. But the Berg Speedway in Luxembourg, Wisconsin, they had a special this past Saturday, and Jerry Munster won the IMSA modified feature. And what's newsworthy about that is Jerry Munster is 80 years old. So, you know, if I can get around as well as Jerry Munster is right now, you know, when I'm 80 years old, I'll consider myself to be very, very lucky. But yeah, I mean, Jerry gets around really well. Super nice guy, easy to talk to, and it's good to see him in victory lane at the age of 80. And there's video of him doing a dance in victory lane. So if you're on Facebook, you'll have to try to find that.
That is super cool. You don't hear too many 80-year-olds winning a modified race. So hats off to him. That's pretty awesome. I also want to, I guess I'd be remiss if I didn't mention this. So Julie McAdams, who was heavily involved with the Grand Rapids Speedway, she was on the board, and she was actually ran the concession stand. She passed away this past week of COVID, and the family has been heavily involved with racing for a long time up in northern Minnesota. So all of us at the show want to give our thoughts and prayers to the McAdams family. So that was kind of a tough loss. We all know her pretty well, know the family. So that's you just don't take life for granted. I can tell you that much. So anything else on the last lap, guys, before we jump into the events we're excited about?
I'm ready.
All right. Well, hey, the must-see events of the week this week, brought to you, Puka, by
RV Share. We haven't talked about them for a few weeks, so I was asking earlier if Granite City's got room for camping, etc. If you have a camper, you're not going to be using it, getting into the winter season up here, you want to rent it out, go to RV Share. We'll have their website in the show notes. Click on it. You can rent out your camper. If you just want to go for a week and you want to hit Ogilvy this weekend, you want to hit the Can-Am Clash in Superior in a couple weekends, you say, hey, it'd be great. Let's see, you don't want to buy one. RV Share allows you to rent campers. So it's kind of like the Airbnb of campers, if you want to put it that way. So rvshare.com, like I said, click on the show, go down to the show notes, click there. If you just go to RV Share and do it, they're not going to know that it came from the One to Go show. So if you want to help us out, support us, use the link below. It'll track that it came from the One to Go show, and they'll be very happy with us.
All right, Bert. So first of all, are either of you going to any races this weekend? And if so, or if not, what are the three that you're looking forward to?
I will not be going to any races this weekend. The first one on my list are the races at Fairbury. The racing is always very good at that track, so I'm looking forward to watching those via the stream. Number two, I'm going to go with Wissota Modified features that will be taking place this weekend. See what happens in the quest for the championship. And number three, we're running towards the end of the Lucas Oil late model season. So I'm looking forward to, they have 3 races this weekend. So, there's a lot of racing taking place in that series this weekend.
I don't think I'll be going to any shows this weekend, but I got my eye on actually one of them is in Bert's backyard or near Bert's backyard. That SK Speedway is supposed to be doing that special this weekend. What do they call it? Fall Closer, I think is what they're calling it. And I more so just to see, like I said, Bert, like you said, Bert, you guys usually don't have a lot of this stuff going on, this time of year. So just kind of wanted to see what kind of mix of Wissota guys and everything that they kind of get there. The Dixie Shootout, of course, is kind of a classic one. Gotta keep an eye on there. And then the Big O, Ogilvy's done a great job. What's that track? 15 years old, Ryan, maybe 20. And, I hear nothing but good things. I do want to get there at some point, but, that point battle, like I said, down at the Big O should be good. Everything I've seen with Ogilvy through the years has been pretty dang good. World of Outlaws have been there, etc. Looking forward to that. How about you, Ryan? That's on your list, right?
Yeah, I mean, we're all kind of saying the same thing here. Of course, I'm looking forward to the Fall Classic first and foremost. I think it's the 18th annual. I don't have that quite in front of me here. Yeah, I believe it's the 18th annual Fall Classic. But in particular, exactly, I can't say it any better than Bert did. I'm looking forward to the one TPO, Tyler Peterson, your national point leader, head-to-head with the Ironman, Shane Sobraski. If Tyler Peterson wins, he clinches. It's done. Anything other than that, they live to play another day, right? And the Can-Am Clash is the final show of the year. So I'm really looking forward to that one. And then how can you not be excited about It's Falls, baby? Fairbury, Friday and Saturday. I believe that's on Flow. And they should have some hitters over there. That whole, central Illinois. They got some pretty good hot rods in that area. So always a good show at Fairbury. And it's crazy. We all talk Lucas Oil late models, and exactly like Puka said, kind of excited about the Dixie shootout. Is Dixie Speedway, wasn't that on Six Pack? Is that the track that was on Six Pack? I mean,
yeah.
First of all, if you're watching this show, okay, and you don't know what the movie Six Pack is, you get a donkey award. Okay, it just is what it is, right? And if you haven't seen it, jump onto YouTube and you can click the link. You can watch it for free on YouTube. And if you have seen it, why don't you just watch it again? Because it's super cool. That's like a classic. That's old school dirt track racing right there. So the Dixie Speedway brings back memories from that. So I'm excited for that one. But guys, episode 100 in the book. So congratulations, Theo. We got a lot more to come. And Puka, why don't you give us our last thoughts here?
Yeah, well, yeah, and thanks all you fans. Like I said, we couldn't have done without you. I mean, we, like Ryan said when we first, I remember texting Bert, and I actually didn't hear back from Bert for a couple of weeks, and I knew he needed a third wheel, and I run into Ryan's working out, and I run in there, and I'm like, oh my God, there's the guy, then I got my second guy. So I reached back to Bert and say, I'm sorry, I've just been busy. I want to do it. And, we didn't know where it was going to lead or what was going to happen. And then, of course, I think COVID might have helped us just a little bit as far as, people were locked down. Then that's when we started, your idea, Ryan, was let's get it, more visual, and we'll get on YouTube, we'll get on Facebook and stuff. And so, yeah, guys, it's been great. It's been a great ride. So like I said, 150, 200, I don't know, 1,000. We'll see where it leads us. Like I said, what's that 80-year-old guy's name? Maybe we'll be
Jerry
like
Munster.
Oh, there you go. So we got many, many years left to do the show. So, but we have to thank everyone who's been out there and supported us, and our advertisers. Like, so we've got great partners, Dirt Track Supply, BuyRaceShirt.com, RB Share, Cowboy Up Racing, Zuli's Rations. And I mean, Zuli's, we've been talking about all the winners. So just get a hold of Zuli's. Okay. Blue Line Brews, Vernon Racing. It's been great. But so toward the end of the program here, sharing is caring. We've talked about it. You can check us out and share us on YouTube, Facebook, Snapchat, TikTok. And also the podcast, you can share it. And if you want to give us a little ranking for those of you that podcast, just if you're on Apple, just go down to when you have your podcast app open, there's a button down on the bottom that says library. Click on it, click on One to Go Show, and then right when you click on One to Go Show, right at the top, it's going to show stars. If you just, give us a 5-star ranking or give us a 4-star, or if we're giving too many donkey awards, give us a 1-star, but you can, that will help us, show up in for the podcasters. The One to Go Show at gmail.com. Comment on the page, or like I said, if you want something more private, just onetogoshow@gmail.com. Most importantly, of course, get out there and be your dream. Thank you once again for joining episode 100. You're tuned to the One to Go Show.